you've expressed concern about a step she took when she was dean at Harvard Law School, and she continued the policy of Harvard Law School of keeping military recruiters from using the Office of Career Services, although she did change that policy later in her tenure there. The White House has said she had great relationships with veterans and with the military while dean. What's specifically your concern about this issue?
I have great concerns about that. That went on for a number of years. It was a national issue. People still remember the debate about it. She reversed the policy. When she became dean, they were allowing the military to come back on campus, and had been for a couple of years.
Well, they were always on campus, right? They just weren't using the Office of Career Services.
Yeah, this is no little bitty matter, Jake. She would not let them come to the area that does the recruiting on the campus. They had to meet with some student veterans, and this is not acceptable. It was a big error. It was a national debate. Finally, we passed the Solomon Amendment. They really didn't comply with it. Eventually, she joined a brief to try to overturn the Solomon Amendment, which was eventually rejected 8-0 by the United States Supreme Court. And she was not in compliance with the law at various points in her tenure. And it was because of a deep personal belief she had that this policy, which was Congress and President Clinton's policy,
don't ask,
not
don't tell.
The military
right.
soldiers' policy, it was set by Congress.
Could I have a word?
Senator Leahy, you're shaking your head. What, do you disagree with Senator Sessions' assertion? This is no itty-bitty matter, he said.
Well, this is like in Shakespeare, sound and fury signifying nothing. The recruiters were always on the Harvard campus. She's shown her respect for the veterans there. Every year on Veterans Day, she has a dinner for all the veterans and their families who are there at Harvard. Recruiting went on at Harvard every single day throughout the time she was there. And she was trying to follow Harvard's policy. She was also trying to make sure that students who wanted to go in the military could. Scott Brown, who's a Republican U.S. Senator and a member of the active reserves, he's still in the military, he met with her and left and said he thought she had high respect for our men and women in uniform, and he had no qualms about that. I think let's, you know, I realize you have some of these special interest groups on the far right or the far left who have points. Ignore those. We got to make up our own mind. We should be bright enough to do it. This recruiting thing, if somebody wants to go in the military, they usually find the recruiter. I mean, I don't think there is a recruiting station on the campus when my youngest son went and joined the Marine Corps. He wanted to join the Marine Corps. He had no trouble finding a recruiter. And I think in this case, the recruitment went on at Harvard all the way through. This really is trying to make up something out of whole cloth.
Jake, I don't agree. This was controversial at Harvard. That's one reason she began to try to meet with military to try to assuage the concerns. She disallowed them from the normal recruitment process on campus. She went out of her way to do so. She was a national leader in that, and she violated the law of the United States at various points in the process.
Well, let's talk about the legal aspect of it, because Chairman Leahy, Senator Sessions points out that when she was dean, she joined a friend of the court brief suing the Pentagon effectively, challenging this law, and it was rejected. That point of view and the friend of the court brief were rejected 8-0 by the Supreme Court. That includes Justice Ginsburg, Justice Breyer, Justice Stevens saying, Elena Kagan, you're wrong, your side is wrong. Now, it was just a friend of the court brief, but doesn't that unanimous verdict basically show that Kagan was expressing her political beliefs and not looking at the rule of law?
You know, if we said that any lawyer who'd ever filed a brief with the Supreme Court that they couldn't serve on the Supreme Court because the case lost, half the members who are on the Supreme Court today would not be on the Supreme Court. She stated a position. She challenged the law. The law was upheld, and she said, we will follow the law at Harvard. I mean, I don't know what else you could ask for.
All right, I want to move on to it.
Laws are challenged all the time. That's why we have appellate courts.